Hey, welcome to this month's Expert Insights, an opportunity to jolt your thinking, shake up where you are. This month we are joined by the man, Mr. Simon Bourne.
Hello.
Mr. Simon Bourne. Simon Bourne is a shoemaker extraordinaire. Now, I think we're going to do should we do a little shoe moment now? Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do the leg cross shoe moment. Look at that. Look at that, folks. Worth watching just for that bit. These are Mr. Bourne's designs, mustard laces. Nice. Do you like that?
They're beautiful.
It's quite uncomfortable sitting like that.
Get some of them. Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
I know the man who can design these for you. So you see, the thing is, a lot of people will take a glance at Simon and go, probably a bit overly confident, a bit dramatic, a bit arty, a bit in your face, and actually, while Simon admits that he can be all of those things, and confident and bold and brave in the way he engages with people and makes an impact on the planet, he also admits that behind the scenes there is a man that can be quite insecure, quite shy, sometimes lacking in a bit of confidence in your own ability to deliver on the stuff that you want to deliver on. And what's really clear about Simon is that here is someone that is making a dent on the planet. And the first time I stumbled across you, it became really evident very quickly that here is someone who has an impact to make, who has a story to bring, who has a product not just that is an extraordinarily high quality, but a whole way of engaging with people. So Simon is certainly on the way to business stardom with the hand-dyed shoe company. And I'm very grateful to have you here for the next half an hour or so, and to get a bit lift up the head, and have a little look inside.
Oh gosh,
see what's going on. Head and heart stuff.
Dig out the dust, and then
there's no dust. There's no dust. So we have got some questions, and I also know that we're going to go wherever we need to go, so we get the best insight to you and the best look at how you do what you do in the world. So I know you've read Joel. I know you've listened to the audiobook when you were falling asleep one night. And what would be really interesting to hear is, so in terms of like jolts on the world, making our jolt on the planet, what do you think is the biggest jolt that you've delivered to this planet so far?
I think my biggest jolt happened on the 14th of January 2016. It was probably 2 years since I'd had the idea for the company, and I met a guy called Colin Elric, and he may well watch this. And I met him in a Bannatynes Hotel cafe to discuss some shoes that he'd seen in the local press. The shoes that we're talking about it was the press had picked up on the fact that I was sitting in strange places, including rivers, outside of castles, sitting on bridges, just quite literally just painting leather and these shoes. And the press got interested in it and thought, well, this is a bit weird, this is a bit unusual. And they ran this article all about the shoemaker extraordinaire, so hence where the name came. And Colin read it, assuming that I was the founder of some big foundation and big company that was out there selling hundreds of shoes a year, or thousands maybe even, when in actual fact I'd sold zero at this point. He got in touch, and we met and had a coffee and explained about the company, where it came from, and the ideas that I was having, and that without trying to sell shoes on camera here, talking about the art and the kind of the levels that go into crafting a pair, and he gave me £160 in cash over a table. And even now I feel quite emotional thinking about it, because I went out and I got in the car, and the first thing I did was ring Lauren, my wife, and told her, someone's just given me some money to buy my idea. You know, not the shoes, not necessarily the shoes, but it was all that this guy has just spent money, his money, hard-earned money, and £160 to me, which, by the way, there was no profit in this at all. It was just, he was giving me the money to have a pair of these shoes. And I just burst into tears. I couldn't believe it. It was just like a real jolt. It was a jolt. It was like somebody wants to give me money for a product that I conceived in my head, and that was just a unbelievable moment, and that then was like, okay, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to go out there and I want to create shoes and meet people, and I want that feeling again. It became like a drug almost, and big job.
And at that point, had he actually experienced a pair of your shoes? Did he?
Very little. I mean, he'd experienced a dummy shoe that I took with me, obviously, along to say, well, this is kind of what I create, and it was, I'm sure Colin will forgive me. There was no creation at all by this point. It was just like, it was all blagging it almost, and so I showed him some dummy shoes. I showed him some leather and put some dye on it, and said, this is what I'm talking about. What sort of color are we thinking? And took them through like dare I say, like a mini version of what the business has become now, and whatever it was, I'm sure Colin would tell you it was me, and that's not like, I don't mean that to sound arrogant. It was me that made him. He didn't care what it was. He just wanted a bit.
And that was the bit I wanted to get to about. So if he hadn't seen the physical shoe,
yeah.
And actually before I bought these, I hadn't seen
Yeah.
the physical shoe. I hadn't touched it,
Yeah.
felt it. I hadn't met you, but even just online, I'd got such a strong sense of your presence and what you stood for, and so it's like, what had he experienced in you? What do you believe he'd experienced in you?
Creativity, a uniqueness, something different. He'd seen a picture of some weird guy with a beard sitting in a river painting a pair of shoes.
Don't see that very often around here.
Yeah, you don't see John Lobb sitting in a river, or churches or Granson. You don't see the thing. It was really strange and weird, and I think ultimately what that was, it was an expression of my own personality. I like to do things that are a bit edgy and a bit strange.
Do you?
And a bit, yeah, you might have noticed that. It's so I like to stand out from the crowd a little bit and just feel comfortable in my own skin, and just do things that people go, wow, that's interesting, that's bizarre almost. I get a kick out of that, and I think that's what attracted him. Really, I think it was a bit of that, and then obviously when I met him and we sit over a table and we're talking about shoes, and I'm getting this passionate energy across, and he just felt, I've just got to have a pair. It didn't matter what it was. I didn't care what they looked like. He just got to have a pair, and he paid me some money, and the rest history. Yeah. So
has that always been your spirit? This kind of love energy, and stand out from the crowd, and making an impact,
always. Yeah. So if we talk about like spirit, and has it always been? It's always been there. My friend, if you look at pictures of me on Facebook, please don't. Anybody who's watching, please
look
don't.
afterwards.
Yeah, look. Yeah, now they all will because I've said don't.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like you'll see pictures of me in sort of my late teens and early 20s with like bright blue hair and wearing a t-shirt with a tie. Like just didn't make sense. But that was me. That I would design my own clothes. I would cut them up. I would do anything that was slightly alternate. I would get my nose pierced. When maybe 15 years ago, blokes didn't get the nose pierced, and especially in like an old colliery village where I live, I was very much like the weird freak from the village, and I think that like at that time of my life, I was when we talk about insecurity and things like that, like I spent a lot of time through my teens and really up till my late 20s feeling insecure about who I was, and this kind of need to be extrovert and be different, and there's been times in my life where I've questioned my sexuality, where I've thought, well, I must be because but I don't fancy blokes, so like that was the rationale that I was wrestling with in my head. I was just like, well, but why am I so different and so urgent, like creating this urgency to be different? I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And really, when I created my company, I think that was a massive turning point in my life. It enabled me to express myself because it became part of the brand. It became part of the message, and that I need to express myself for this business to work. Colin Elric, gave me that confidence to say, actually, there's a reason that I should be different. And since then, really, I feel like the company has given me this basis to say, do you know what? I am a freak, but I'm all right with it. Do you know what I mean? It's cool. It's like I like it. It's part of who I am, and I'm comfortable with it. I still have moments, and I still have like these little sort of twisted mind wrestling games with myself at times. But you know, I've never felt so comfortable. That's what I'm trying to say.
And you talk about difference and uniqueness a lot, don't you? And
massively.
It's such a part of your brand and your product, and actually your customer service. I've talked in Facebook Lives recently about, you know, just customer service, that so often we get even the basics wrong.
Yeah, massively.
And but I think your whole experience from start to finish and it's almost like there's no finish point. And I know you talk about, you don't think of people being customers, you think of them as being friends. And but just you build something that is so unusual and so unique.
Yeah, and I think that, listen, the thing that I'm most passionate, who doesn't love to make sales? Everybody loves to make sales, especially in business. But it's not the thing that gets me going. The thing that gets me going is meeting people and experiencing stories and getting to, you know, that's okay. You've acted on stage in Phantom of the Opera, and that just blows my mind. Like, hearing these stories and the fact that you want to talk to me, that's like, wow, like real, like, powerful stuff. Ollie, you know, Colin, who I still regularly meet. I've got so many friends through the business that have been customers. Gary is another one, you know, and it's that, and like, you know, I often ring my customers up like months after and just say, how are you doing, you know, and it's not to sell them anything else. If I do, then great, you know, but it's just to keep that relationship going. And it's just given me purpose. People give me reason to do this, you know, and people accept me for who I am because of the business, and that it helps me live every day, you know. And
this is and for people watching, I think there's something really, this is kind of the real heart of it, about, you know, there's your product, which in itself is brilliant, amazing, creative, special, unique. There's all of that bit, but then there's all this other bit that people do buy into, which is, you know, who you are and what you stand for and what you deliver, and that whole kind of customer journey. And I look at LinkedIn, and it's like most of the people that are engaging with you on LinkedIn will not have bought any of your products.
No.
And they'll look at a picture and they'll go, yeah. But actually, it's all the piece that you package around it, and that's so important for people that are, you know, watching this, that are entrepreneurs and setting up businesses. Like, get your product absolutely shit hot, and that whole piece around it that often we underestimate.
Is the individual. Right? It's the individual.
Get like hundreds of likes on your LinkedIn stuff.
You go on any real, you know, good sales course, and probably the first thing the trainer will tell you is that people buy from people. Right, and there'll be millions of people watching this, hopefully, who can relate to that and say, yeah, I've heard that before. People buy from people. But actually, how many people go away and actually think about that and try and think, okay, so how do I get people to buy from me? And people go down this direction of product, and they might have the best product in the world, might have the best logo in the world and the best bit of marketing campaign. But actually, if you just, particularly anybody starting out, you know, if you're a tailor, or you've got a piece of software, or you've got something like you're a joiner and you make little wooden toys, like all of these things, like if you can sell your own personality and the reason why you've done it, and these are the things, your reason, your purpose, and your values, and sell these things, and when I say sell them, I don't mean for sale. This is, you know, for sale, I have anxiety. I mean, like, just like express yourself and just say, this is how X situation made you feel. People can relate to that. Everybody can relate to feelings and emotions and sadness and happiness and joy and pride and these emotions that are just running through you constantly, day in, day out, through whatever situation that you're facing. I missed the train, I was pissed off. Like, talk about it then. Talk about that, because everybody's missed the train, everybody's pissed off. Someone will relate to it and say, do you know what, you know, give you that boost and say, go on, you know, there's another train in 5 minutes. It's not that bad. Like, that's what I mean. And I think that LinkedIn, well, we just mentioned on LinkedIn gave me a platform. It gave me a platform to where I found people who believed in me because of the product. Don't get me wrong, because it's shoes and it's something that's quite interesting. But actually, as you quite rightly said, the thing that people, if you look at the comments, it's not often about, sometimes it's about the shoes, sometimes it's about their good on you, Simon. I put a post on the other day about my nephew who's working with me this week. 2,500 likes, well over 150,000 views. And I'm not telling you this out of like, ooh, look at what I've done, you know. But and the post was nothing to do with shoes. It was nothing to do with it wasn't a pre-planned thing. I didn't wake up that morning and go, okay, today I'm gonna pull people's heartstrings, get the violins out, you know, nothing. It was just what I felt in that moment. I was watching my nephew polish some shoes. I took a photo of him and I went, do you know what, this kid, like, he's doing a good job for us. He's asked us a billion questions this week to the point where he's doing me head in. Sorry, Connor, if you're watching. You know, but I felt pride. I felt really chuffed. So I talked about the feeling of pride and that this 14-year-old kid, when actually, you know, how many 14-year-old kids out there are getting a hard time, and like, you know, it's Xbox warps them, and all they're interested in is spitting and swearing and kicking old grannies over. You know, like that's not actually true. There's a lot of bloody good 14-year-old kids out there, and that's what I felt at that moment. So I posted that, and it just created this engagement, and it just went. Is it viral? I don't know if it's viral. I don't know what counts as viral.
It's a lot of likes, though.
A lot of likes, yeah.
On something that you say is not about the product, but is about your message and your story, and
exactly.
So much of you that's what it's about,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So we talked a bit then about values, and so in Jolt, I talk, you know, at the real heart of what we do is about our value set that we live by, and our beliefs that we live by, so our story that we run our day by. So what would you say? What is it that differentiates you, that means every day you run an extraordinary story? What's the thinking that goes on that compels you to keep delivering in the way that you deliver?
Honesty, I think, is the big one. People say, "Oh, I'm an honest person." Everybody's an honest person. Of course they are. Like, we're all honest people. But when we're talking about the story and going from ordinary to extraordinary, my honesty really has no boundaries in terms of what I'm willing to put out there. I'll talk about anxiety. I'll talk about depression. I've talked about suicide and suicidal thoughts in the past. I'll talk about love. I'll talk about pride. I'll talk about product. I'll talk about business. I'll talk about anything, and I'll put it out there. However I'm feeling, and I mean however I'm feeling. I'm not frightened to put it out there, and I think really that's the fundamental value that and I do that. The value's there because it's given me purpose. That value of being honest has given me purpose, because I've found that if I'm really honest with people, as in the people of LinkedIn, the people of Facebook, the people sitting here, yourself sitting here, if I'm really honest, then you're more likely to relate to me. So therefore, you're more likely to buy my product. So therefore, I have purpose. So I've got a purpose to be honest. So just like, my biggest value is honesty, and I think that anybody who ever works for me in the future, or who I'm ever like a business associate with, like, would have to have that level. Have to understand that is part of it's part of who I am. That I have to be that person, and without it, I feel slightly trapped and which then builds the insecurity, which puts me back in those difficult places.
Because it is the honesty, isn't it? And it is also about your self-disclosure and your comfort and ease with being open. Actually, is a piece that then means. Well,
you can see, like, I mean, I'm quite clearly slightly anxious about talking about this stuff, but like, I feel like the value is the thing that's driving me to do it. It's the word, pushing the words out of my mouth, because I have to get those words out. I have to talk about that, no matter how it makes me. You know, I'm physically shaking talking about it, but like, it's so important that I do talk about it, because if I don't, then I feel like it's trapped inside, and it's like then it builds and it gets slightly out.
What happens when it gets trapped inside?
Dear me, should I get a bench and have a lie down?
Shall I get a bench and have a lie down?
It can be quite dark. It can be quite destructive, and we touched at the start about confidence and things like that. I start to beat myself up. I believe that I can't do anything, that I'm out of my depth, and it gets tough. It gets really deep, and you know, I wouldn't say by any stretch of the imagination I get so bad as I have been potentially at some points in my life, but it gets tough. Yeah, it gets tough. It gets difficult to control and manage, and I start to feel like I need some help, like real help. It's
a real fine line, isn't there, between that, what is your brilliance and how how quickly it can move from being your brilliance to being the very same piece that chops your legs off.
Well, if you look at Winston Churchill, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Michelangelo, real, what are they? They're artists, without using the word artist to say Michelangelo, but artists of their professions, and real geniuses, and I mean geniuses in terms of what they do. Yet they've all got this edge to them where it can be self-destructive in the same way, and I feel like it is quite clearly. It's linked to stardom and creativity and uniqueness and being able to control it. Yeah.
And we talked about, we touched on it before the interview and in the Facebook Lives recently. A lot of talk in the group about good mental hygiene and some of the challenges around mental health, and especially in the creatives world, and how the creatives and actually the entrepreneurial world is so closely linked. Where there's such a desire and a drive and that passion for precision and perfection. I know from being a musician, that constant yearning to be there, but to be a little bit beyond it. And actually, again, it's part of the magic and the bliss, and it's also the very same piece that wrong foots you and can dig your own grave, literally, for a lot of people.
Yeah, Alexander McQueen's the greatest example of that. Someone who is an absolute wizard of his industry. Yet, in the end, it got the better of him, and whatever the demons were, obviously ended so tragically. And I feel like this isn't me reaching out saying I'm ever really anywhere close to this at the minute. I'm not. I'm in a really good place. If anyone's worried about me, I'm fine. But it is just like it's because I found this way to control it, and that is through this honesty and just putting it out there as part of the story and telling it and not being afraid of it, really.
Give me 3 words you would use to describe yourself.
Unique, creative, and probably a little bit vulnerable. a little bit. Just a pinch. A pinch. But vulnerability is like, it's a gift. Vulnerability is a gift. I talk about this a lot, and I've just done an article with a lovely lady called Louise Macaulay, who's on LinkedIn, and she's quite passionate about mental health, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying, she has her own issues, and it helps her to deal with her own issues by talking to other people who have. So we've connected, and we speak quite often. And I talked a lot about vulnerability in terms of why I think it's a gift. Without the vulnerability, then I haven't got that thing to fight. So anxiety, for example. Okay, I suffer with anxiety, so I have real crazy times where I'm just like, I can't do this, I can't get out of bed, and it's just very, very brief. It's a couple of days, if that, and then all of a sudden I'm fine, I'm back to normal, I want to conquer the world again. But without having that, almost like when I'm feeling really, really good, like I am this week particularly, while I'm in London and doing good things, like when I'm feeling really, really good, I feel like, okay, I'm not gonna let that effing thing win.
You can say it.
I'm not gonna let it win. I'm not gonna let that anxiety dominate my life. I'm gonna prove to that bloody anxiety that I can do something really extraordinary, and that's the shoemaker extraordinary. I am extraordinary, and everybody's extraordinary if you're willing to accept it and take it and just push it out there and just go for it. And that's why, I say, vulnerability is it's a gift, because if you don't have it, then you've got nothing to prove wrong. And I feel like I've got this anxiety, which I'm driven by this, because I want to prove that actually, despite anxiety, I still built a company that became globally known for creating handmade, customized shoes. That's the driver for me. So I need that anxiety. I need that to make me do that, to achieve that.
And that's a real spin for a lot of people, that actually you've formed a really loving bond with your anxiety, and you know how it serves you, and it's a great measure for you, it's a great nudge for you, and then you can also embrace it. And a lot of people, of course, will fight their anxiety and attempt to get into a battle with it and get rid of it, rather than use it well.
I spoke to a guy last week who suffers with bipolar, so probably, arguably a much more intense, serious mental health issue. And we were just talking about comparing stories a little bit and things like that. And I said to him that almost when I have anxiety, it obviously feels like the worst moment of your life. It's like you can't get out of bed. Like it's like I can't do this day. I don't, I swear, I kick things. I'm not a nice person to be around, and I know that. And like my poor wife knows that. Like she's got to just give me a couple of days just to get out of it, work my way out of it. But at the same time, like while I'm suffering with it, it's like there's this other little voice in my head, and it's just going, you can do, like just like this is good. Like imagine how you're going to feel in 3-4 days time when this is past. Like this is what's going on in my head. And then Chris said to me that it's a bit like, I'm just trying to think, it wasn't Chris who said it was somebody else. Anyway, it's a bit like having this mojo in the back of your head that's just kicking you all the time and just going, go on, you can deal with this, you can do it. So it's like you've got to get to those low places for that mojo to start flicking, and then when you come out of it the other side, you go, yeah, you bastard, I beat you. I'm good again. And sometimes it takes something to happen. Sometimes it just happens. You just come out of it.
I just wonder if the mojo is flicking all the time, and it kind of, because that's part. You have great drive and spirit and determination, and that mojo piece, I reckon, is just unconsciously. All the time, but of course we notice it more, and it has a bigger role in your life when it knows it needs to work that bit harder for you to kind of push through
to
that.
Get through it, and just to go, okay, right, Simon, come on, like look what you've done, because you when you're in these moments of anxiety and stress or depression or whatever it is that you've got, like it doesn't matter. It's really sad because I could look at a picture of my daughter, I can look at my business, I can look at numbers, it doesn't matter what you look at, nothing change. You can't just go, okay then, let's just get on. Yeah, great. It doesn't work like that. There's no switch. You've just gotta, or there's certainly no switch for me. Perhaps there is for others, but there's no switch for me. It's, I love my wife, I love my daughter dearly, clearly. I love my business. I love what I've done. I love where I've come from and the journey that I've been on, and yet all of those things, like, they just don't matter when you're in this thing. You just need that thing to keep flicking, and then eventually you'll go, do you know what, like, I've done all right, actually. This is actually, do you know what, I've done some bloody great things, and it's going to get better, and it's going to keep growing, and it's going to,
And vulnerability is such a biggie. We need to think about people that are in a creative and an innovative space. We can't be creative and innovative unless we have vulnerability. And I see that in lots of organisations I go into where innovation is a big agenda, or at least intellectually they say we want to be more innovative. And then you look at how comfortable is the culture to embrace vulnerability and fucking stuff up, and they're not. And you go, but you can't have one without the other. So you couldn't be a massive creative
I've
without the vulnerability.
In corporate environments, so big companies and things like that, and learned massive amounts of things from management skills, sales skills, marketing skills, all sorts of different things from these like big companies and things like that. There's a bit that sticks with me, and a very senior manager once said to me that intimated that I wasn't a very good manager of people because I was too vulnerable and too emotional. Now, I get that I'm emotional, and I get that too much emotion sometimes is not a good thing, because you're trying to deliver a certain message, and if you're seen as this big emotional wreck. Now, people take the word emotional and think that like somebody's going to go into a situation and just melt down and have a big cry, like I'm not that emotional. I'm emotional as in, like, I get really passionate and I get really vocal about things, and that's what I mean by so I was told I was too emotional, and that I couldn't actually, I wasn't a particularly great manager because of this, and yet I couldn't disagree with it more. I think it was that emotion that got the best out of that team that I was driving at that time, and actually since I've left, that there's been certain elements of that team that have disintegrated, and I don't want to say take joy from it, but I do a little bit. Of course you do. So like that it was the emotional me that was driving that team, and it was the emotional determination and passion and energy that I would go in for every day, and the upset and the sorrow and the weakness, that I would take to work on certain days as well. But that like, we were just such a team together, and everybody felt it, and everybody felt however I was feeling, but it worked so well. And I just think that's what I mean by it's a gift. This vulnerability, this need to be emotional, this need to express myself is a gift.
And so many organisations spend time putting limitations on
box that up, and
because they don't know how to deal with it.
We can't control with this guy who's just thinking all the time, and I'm going in with emails, and I'm like, we need to change this and change this, do some training, and maybe we could shake the HR system up, and what can we do about this? Like, people just try and box it.
Isn't it annoying when people think too much? I bloody hate thinkers.
Oh, I know, these creative swines, yeah.
So how do you stay fresh and invigorated each day? Because being an entrepreneur is hard, right? Whatever, even if it's something that you love and where your passion's in it. How do you stay fresh and invigorated?
I network bloody well, to be honest. I think that's probably one of my biggest things. Is I've got like I say, an endless amount of friends, close friends. I mean, real good friends at home. But then also like my what you call business friends, or what I call my business friends. So I network well. So like, if ever I'm feeling like, right, okay, like I need something, I know who to ring. I've got a great mentor. I've got a team of people around me that bring skills that perhaps I'm not that great at. And I think that was fundamental with setting my business up, was finding these people before taking the product out to a wide market. Because I mean, I set this business up in 2014. I didn't sell a single thing till 2016, so 2 years after I'd had an idea. Then 2017, really, so April last year, when I had the infrastructure right, and I had the idea clear in my head as to what I wanted to create in terms of the product, even, and I had the infrastructure right in terms of the network around me, the people that I needed on my side to be able to enable me to go out and do my thing. And I think that's the thing, really. It's just reaching out to that network that I've got and just saying, right, okay, what we're doing today, how can I push this forward? How can I drive this onto the next level? What is the next level? Thinking like, what is the next level beyond the next level, and dreaming that big and getting carried away with it, and then having to be reined back sometime as well, and which I find quite difficult to be reined back. But yeah, sometimes it's necessary.
But that tribe is so important, isn't it? We talk about it in our groups about having that tribe around you. And not just because being an entrepreneur can be a real lonely game, or being senior in a business can be incredibly lonely, but actually having those people who've got your back, who will also be honest with you and catch you when you fall, but also kick your ass when you need your ass kicking.
Exactly that, yeah. So like, I talk about vulnerability here in this piece that we're talking about, but like, I can take a bollocking as well. Like I know when nobody likes it, you know what I mean? I don't take comfort from it, but at the same time, like, I also know I need those people around me that will do that, and I'm not frightened of those people. I actually encourage them to be involved with me. So like Gary and various other sort of powerhouses, if you like, who are involved with the business, and I need those people. I need those people just to go, do you know what, Simon? Stop being a dickhead. Like, get your ass out, put your ego at the door. I know you talk a lot about, like, because I know I've got an ego, I know I've got one. So like, it's sometimes you just need someone to say, Simon, put your ego down and just think about this logically, and stop being so bullish about. I'll give you a great example. I'm talking about packaging recently, and I'm desperate to revamp my packaging. Desperate, because I've got this idea, this vision that I think my packaging should look like. But the thing with it is, it's going to cost. My idea would cost somewhere in the region of £5,000 to £10,000 to put out there. But there's a better way. Realistically, there's a better way that I can make the packaging look sort of like what I want to do. That'll do a job for until I can essentially afford to put that investment in. So I'm all set, and anybody who tells me that I shouldn't spend 5 to 10 grand on this brilliant idea that I've got makes me curl. Like, fuck off. It's my idea, it's my business. You can't tell me I need to do this now. But actually, in realistic terms, if I go and do that now, and this is what the arse kicking has done for us is I'll probably end up bust before the end of the year, because it's like it's the wrong time to. It's just the wrong time to do it. It's not quite, the business isn't quite at that stage yet. So it's one of those ideas that just needs parking for a little while. It doesn't need to go away. It just needs parking for a little while. And I suppose when if this was 1 year ago and I didn't have that tribe, I'm putting that money in. I'm doing it because it's just burning. It's burning my ears. It's like I've got to do it. And I think that's the brilliance of having a tribe.
Yeah.
Is just nipping things and just go, all right, okay, great idea, but. And just spinning your thinking around a little bit and going, well, why don't you do this?
I know you're a real activist, and we talked earlier about the whole Dare to Begin piece.
Yeah.
And I imagine you're a real kind of you got something and you chase it.
Yeah,
and a new shiny thing, and that's it. And
yeah, so that's why I struggled with the corporate world, the whole fill a form and to have a day's holiday. I was just like, what? Like, I work hard. Like, I work till 5 o'clock in the morning.
You reply to my emails at like all hours.
Yeah, and that's me. Like, I work hard. You know what I mean? So therefore, if I want to have a day off, like, I just kind of feel like I've earned a day off. Like, I can do that, and having to fill a form in, it just doesn't really sit very well with us. So yeah, it is that whole. If I've got an idea, I've just got to get on with it. Corporacy and corporate companies, like I feel like I have got a place there, but at the same time I feel very restricted there because I'm constantly engaging with new ideas and I want to push on, but it's like, okay, let's have a meeting about that and let's have a chat about that, and I realise you've got to have that, but at the same time, like, I've got to cut these strings and just let me go with it, because great things happen. I wouldn't be here now if I didn't have that urgency to do things. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair, talking to you. So
okay, so look, loads of great things happen, and we also know, again, if we're going to play big and we're going to be vulnerable and we're going to be honest and put ourselves out there, there's also going to be stuff that screws up, and there's going to be ideas that don't work and topple over. How do you deal with that? How do you deal when you get the pushbacks, or you get the no's, or you get the rejections?
Do you know what? Like, I'm pretty durable. Like, I am pretty durable, and I'm in London this week. This week's a perfect example. So I was sitting probably 4 or 5 weeks ago in my house, chewing my ear off, saying, I want to go down London. I want to take my business to London. I want to, 1 in 4 of my customers in London. I want to take this business. I'm going to make a return on it. I'm going to walk away with £1 million in my pocket if I go and take this to London. This is what's going through my head. Let's, this is going to be brilliant. It's going to be revolutionary. And then I'm sitting and I'm going, right, okay, so how would I do it? Where would I be? What would I... And, but I'm going to have to go to London. When can I go to London? I can't, because I've got this meeting then and this. So, like, I guess how I deal with it is I just bloody do it. And I do it, and I see what happens. And if I can tell you now, I'm not going home with £1 million in my pocket. I'm lucky if I'm going to.
It's not the end of the week, though. Yeah,
but yeah. Saturday and Sunday.
You've got 2 more days.
If anybody's watching, 2 days. 67 Redchurch Street, by the way.
Just need to put your prices up a little bit.
Yeah, up by £1 million. So yeah, like, listen, it has it been successful? It's been successful in the sense of, like, it's great. I've done it now, and I know now what I can put right for the next time I do it. I've learned a lot of lessons. I've got my money back on what it's cost me to do it. I'm not going home with £1 million in my pocket. So next time I come down, maybe I'll plan a bit better, do a bit more, and next time maybe I'll get the £1 million. Who knows? And
what you do by doing this week is that you create more potential and capacity for the $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You've forged more relationships. You've put a footprint down.
Yeah, and you learn and educate yourself more. So, like, what I've learned so much this week. Like, it's been a totally different sales experience. From what I'm used to up in the northeast. So when I'm in the northeast, people make a nice appointment. It's very slow. It's very, come in, let's get some gin, let's have a coffee.
It's very slow. I can't get that much is slow about your life. I've hardly got a word in.
So yeah, it's...
You have gin?
I've got gin, yeah. Gin. That's another story.
I've got some black gin.
Black gin? Well, we'll talk about that when we're finished. Let's
talk about it now.
Let's get it. Where's Kelly gone? Kelly?
Get the gin! So what's been your greatest learning on the journey so far? You talked a moment ago about you learnt lots. You learnt lots even this week. But even on the journey so far of Hand-Dyed Shoe Company, what's your greatest learning?
Just that it's okay. It's okay to to be yourself. I changed my logo around 7 months ago now. I used to have the hand-dyed shoe company, and then it said Great British Artisans at the bottom, because it was all about me dyeing shoes, and it just didn't fit. It didn't have any meaning at all, really. It was just something that it's a I'm a great British artisan. That's where it came, but it didn't fit, and I changed it to Be Unique, and I changed it to Be Unique because that does fit for me. And it's like the Be Unique thing is not let's do green shoes with yellow laces. It's about you, and it's about me, and it's about everybody else who consumes my product and consumes my brand. It's about you being you in the best way that you can be you. So if you are a really great guy from the city who likes to look sharp and a nice pair of black brogues, doesn't like to show off too much, then that's bloody brilliant that you know who you are, and I can help you with that because I can make you some really, really nice sharp black brogues. But also, if you are the guy who wants green boots with yellow laces, then I'm fucking chuffed about that too, because I can create you that too. So the biggest learning curve for me is just that, like, you know, whoever you are, whatever you do, whatever story your story is, and the reason why you're buying those shoes, like, that's okay, and that's great. That I'm just chuffed that you know that you're comfortable enough to buy those shoes and to give me your money for me to create you those. And that's what my business has done for me. It's made me feel okay about wearing these jeans that I bought in Italy that my friends absolutely despise, but I quite like them.
Does Lauren like them?
Probably not. I don't really know. I don't ask.
Let us know. Send us an email.
Yeah.
Do you like them comment?
Or not? But you know, like, that's the thing. Like, you know, velvet jacket that's probably, you know, it's got holes in the arms and things like that, but I like it, so I just wear it, and I feel good in it. I feel like it's okay. You know, having me mustache like this. People, the barber who cut it the other day was going, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?" Because I had a beard, big beehive beard. He says, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah."
What was it? What was he wanting to be?
Well,
sure
his point was, I think his point was like, actually, "Are you sure you want to shave your beard off?" But it came across as in, like, "Are you sure you want that mustache?" Like, and I was just like, the more you say that, the more I'm fucking leaving this mustache on, because I want it, because it's controversial, and it's the thing that people stop you. But do you know how many people stop you though when you've got, like,
no
green shoes?
Oh, with green shoes, yeah, not with a twisty moustache.
So many people stop you, and they'll just go, "That's cool, I like that." Or, you know, you pop in the shot, "I like your moustache, I like your jacket," or "I like your," like, and that's like, you know, I live for compliments. Who doesn't? You know what I mean? It's great. It's you know, I live for the applause. A bit like, you know, I'm sure the reason that why you love to be on stage is the applause at the end and how it makes you feel, and the jubilation of, like, get in you. It's the same thing. It's the same drug that I crave, only I can't act or sing or dance.
That was always a problem.
Yeah. So it's the same thing.
And I think the bit that people will love it, but also I think that there's a bit of people in there saying it that actually there's a part of them that would also love to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I'd love to have my moustache like that. I'd love to wear a red jacket like that.
And I like,
it's a real mirror piece for people,
perhaps
isn't it?
This is ego a little bit and a bit of arrogance, but I know that some people look at me and go, I wish I had that confidence. And that's what I mean in the opening paragraph when I would describe myself as somebody, I am confident, I'm confident enough to do it. But at the same time, there's that insecurity inside as well that's kind of always been there and probably always will be.
And that's the bit, I think, that grounds you, actually, that makes you very human. Yeah. Without that bit of vulnerability and the insecurity and the anxiety, actually, then I think it would be...
Then you would lose some
charm.
You would be a show-off.
I think you're a bit of a dick. Yeah. But we don't think that at all.
Thank you.
That's all right. So if you could... Imagine you could jolt one industry, one person, one business... What would it be? Who would you choose? Just one.
It would definitely be the furniture industry. Definitely.
Why?
Because it's messed up and it's vile and it's ugly. It's the car industry is another one. A little.
It's just one.
Sorry. Just one. Furniture industry. Furniture industry. Okay. Furniture industry. Yeah, I feel like it's a bit messed up and it's a bit ugly. I think the way people are trained to sell. I think Sophology for me. Guy called Jason who has actually recently sold it to DFS, which I'm slightly disappointed about. Yeah, but Jason, I've never met the guy, and I've heard various things, but in terms of the principles and the values of Soulfology, I quite like the whole, zero commission, we don't have a sale thing. Their staff are trained in different ways to your stereotypical sales staff within the furniture industry, in the sense of they are trained to give an opening line and a pitch to a customer walking in, but then give them time and let them browse and muse and observe, be aware, things like that. I think this element, it doesn't sit quite right with me, because I can't stand a pre-written pitch to, it just doesn't be yourself, and I think, the furniture industry for me, I don't think there's a company out there that have quite mastered it and quite got it right, in terms of like, okay, we really look after our customers, and we really put customers number one. We really want to give this customer the experience that will make sure that they and all of their friends and all of their colleagues will come back to our business. And I think, I feel like there's a big gap in that industry.
Do you think there are any industries that are particularly good at that? That again, the whole engagement piece, the wanting to create something unique, what you do. What do you do with your stuff? Are there any
there's nobody as good as me.
No. There aren't. Admittedly, there aren't. But do you think there are other industries that do excel at it?
I think, there are. I'm just trying to think of some really good examples of it. Listen, the hospitality industry are really good. Your good hotels and things like that. So you get a waitress or a waiter or a bartender or a hotel manager or something who is really good at it and really attentive and listens. This is the key bit to sales, is salespeople are trained to sell, but they're not really very well trained to listen. And I don't mean listen as in their ears, I mean their eyes, and listening to people's body language, and when's it time to give them a break and let them just sit on some furniture or wander around. I think the hospitality, there's some really good examples, and in fact, when I was working in the furniture industry, the people I would try and recruit were generally the great waitresses or waiters that, I'd be in a bar or something and I'd be like, she's good, she's I can't stand this whole, is everything all right with your meal, sir? Like, it's just so obvious that you're just trained to do that, but it's the ones that just stay for that extra couple of seconds at the end and talk to your child, or how was that, make a recommendation or something like that, and but really authentically and naturally, and they don't overstay their welcome, and they don't stand too close to you in a personal space. I think the hospitality industries, there's some really, really strong examples of how to look after customers, and not pretentiously. That's the other thing as well, because I stayed in a hotel recently, a 5-star hotel. Yeah, business is doing all right.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
I got a good deal. I stayed in a hotel recently, and I just felt it was so it was so over the top, and that's the difference. I think there's a fine line, isn't there, between over the top and really it's attention to detail. That's what it is.
Place in the middle. I think it can become, some of the 5-star hotels will they turn it on so much they end up doing you.
Just give me a break. I'm all right carrying my bag. Leave me alone.
I think you're right. The whole listening piece, and I think you give a shit about what you do.
Yeah.
About the relationship and about the product. And I think if that bit is missing, that care, that genuine care is missing.
Well, you come to my company now and you're interested in some shoes, and we have a great relationship, and you decide that you're going to order some, and then you never hear from me from 6 weeks, and the next thing you have is a box arrive through the door. Now, of course, sometimes that happens. You've got so many orders to manage that sometimes you can't speak to every single customer in that journey. But I make sure that when that box arrives, that there's an element of the journey and the story within the packaging, and you have to buy something to find out what that is.
I like that the dancing girls,
and
the show band that turned up with it, and the white horses.
The ukulele was good, wasn't it?
A bit embarrassing on the street, I thought. I liked that.
Yeah,
that
tassels.
Edge.
Tassels,
nice.
Oh yeah, she was.
Anyway, so look, there are a lot of people that are watching this that are entrepreneurs, who want to be entrepreneurs, want to also play in that extraordinary space. If you were to offer up, say, 3 jolts for them to go, here are the 3 Simon Bourne bits of wisdom.
3 jolts.
What would you offer?
The first one is always be busy, and I spoke about this on I think I did a video for some. It might have been. Was it Limitless, or it was one of the videos for one of the groups. Always be busy, and that's like a really crazy comment, because like all entrepreneurs are busy. If you're an entrepreneur, you're busy. You've got a million things to do. But I'm talking about, like, I was an entrepreneur when I was 17. I didn't know it. I didn't know it at that time, but I was an entrepreneur. And I was an entrepreneur because I was spending every spare minute of my day trying to work my way into the journalism industry at that time, so sports writing. So I would write for match day programs. I would go and do, I worked my way onto TV and did post-match interviews with managers after FA Cup games. I would write for freelance for magazines and publications up and down the country. I even went to India to cover a football tournament. Do you know how much I earned from being a journalist? 0, not a penny. I did it for 6 years, and I must have a portfolio at home with about 500 articles in it. All right, so why is that relevant? Now, I was an entrepreneur because I was making that happen every single day. I was getting up, I was going again, and I was just trying to earn 20 quid or anything that I could just to break into that industry. And I never did, and I'm now quite glad I never did. But what I learned from doing that was that, like, I went from the back of that and I got a job in marketing doing blog writing for children, because I'd done articles and I presented this wonderful portfolio in an interview. So I managed to get that job. I got a job working in the furniture industry because I'd worked in marketing, walked into a small business and said, I work in marketing, I'm interested in working for this company, I really love the product, I'd love to come just do some photography and update your website for you. Come in on Sunday. So I went in on the Sunday and I sold a sofa by accident. So I ended up being more involved in sales than I did marketing. So a bit of jack of all trades in this furniture industry. I moved on to the next company, which was all to do with sales. But because of that, and because I was good at it, I ended up doing training, I ended up doing recruitment, I ended up doing all sorts of different, so learning more skills. So because of being a field journalist, you know, like, I've ended up being an owner, a founder of a company designing shoes and making shoes. And I just think that, like, my journey started when I was 17 as an entrepreneur. So first jolt is just be busy doing something, and don't worry whether it's learning to play piano, whether it's writing poetry, whether it's doodling noughts and crosses and perfecting the circles in a cross. Whatever it is, just be doing something. It doesn't have to be related to your industry, your business, your dream, whatever. Just do something. But
you do mean doing something and improving at it,
and getting
not
better
just
at
doing
it,
something that you're shit at and keep being shit at.
Yeah, because I tried to learn piano at the start of this year. I went and had 4 or 5 piano lessons, and I realised actually I'm shit at playing piano. I haven't got the ambidextrous. I'm just not. I can't do it. It's just I can't do it yet. So I've parked it, and I might go back to it one day when I'm 65, retired.
But that's back to the passion bit, isn't it? About if you want it enough.
Exactly.
And if you apply yourself to it, you'll find the things that you want enough.
You'll learn it. And after 5 lessons, I realised I don't want this enough, because I was trying to convince myself to go to the lesson on the Friday morning, and I was like, no. If I'm trying to convince myself, then I don't want this enough. So therefore, stop wasting your time, park it, go and do something else. And so that's what I do. So I've started to listen to audiobooks and do something else, you know, because I'm not very good at reading, so therefore if I do audiobooks, I can still learn from that. Okay, so that's one. So about be busy. Oh God, what was the other one? What's another one?
Oh, 2 more.
2 more. Be busy, yeah. Listen. Listen. Yeah. It's playing. Yeah, all right. Listen. Yeah. Good joke. Yeah. Good acting. Okay. Listen. Listen, Jolts. How many people are probably watching this now and don't listen to the people around them? And I don't mean just like, it's this whole thing around voice. People assume voice and ears is listening. Body language is the biggest thing out there. Like, I've made a career out of it, of understanding when this person's bored and doesn't want to listen to me anymore. When this guy feels like I'm putting pressure on and it's time to walk away and just give this person time to breathe. The amount of shoes that I've sold by understanding somebody's body language in a LinkedIn message, a private message, you know, like it's paramount. Is that a jolt? Would that count as a jolt?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the sales industry, anybody in sales, there's so many bad salesmen out there. It's actually cringeworthy. The car sales industry, I mentioned it before. I went to buy a car recently, and I'm sitting opposite the guy, and I just said, okay, we're really interested in the car. I think we're going to buy it. Just want to go home with it. And he just kept going and in the end I was like, there's no fucking way I'm buying this car. No way. Because he just wouldn't let me just have 10 minutes, you know, and I think that's where people get it wrong. Not just in sales, I mean, you know, not listening to your mentor who's telling you, look, you should park that idea. And I'm not saying you should listen to your mentor every time. I'm sure Gary will vouch for that. I don't. Yeah, sorry, he's not watching.
And I talk a lot about, you know, when you're in the room, be in the room. Which is back
be
to
in
that.
the room.
When you're plugged in, and that means we listen and
how
we
many
look
people
and we pay
are doing,
attention.
you know, how many
observe.
people are you're sitting, and you've got a customer. You've got, you know, my phone's gone down there on silent because we're doing this. How many people are just like, there's my phone, and you know they're thinking about it because they're touching the pocket or it's buzzing, and you're like, come on, man, just focus, concentrate, like, you know, and yeah, be in the room, just massive thing. People don't listen.
So that's the second one. Third one.
Come
on, this is the killer one. This is
the killer one. I thought the first one was a killer one. I thought it was.
Yeah, this is just more killer.
The last. This is more killer. Live outside your comfort zone. Does everybody say comfort zone in these jolts?
They say comfort zone.
No, get out. Like live outside of
zone.
it. Zone.
Not zone.
That's another joke. You need to stop with these jokes, Richard.
I know, it's hilarious, isn't it?
So yeah, live outside your comfort zone. So honestly, I live outside my comfort zone. Like if it scares me, I want to do it. Like I go to so if I go to the theatre, I can't help but sit in that crowd and audience. Forgive me. Sit in that audience, watching, thinking, I want to be on that stage. I just want to be up there. And if I got up there, my arse would be in my shoes. It would be like.
No.
You with us? It's a different phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be a good place to be anyway if I was on that stage. But like, it's this urgency to like, okay, I want to do that. That's weird. I want to do that. I want to push myself and do weird things. So I live outside my comfort zone. I'm always like, okay, can I go on the radio and talk? Can I be on TV? You know, this goes back to journalism. So I remember, right, I did a post. I'd been booked, but I say booked, asked because there was no money involved, to go and cover Blackburn versus Bristol City, and Blackburn were in the Premiership at the time, and they were managed by a guy called Gary Boyer. I was like, bloody hell, Premiership manager. I'm going to get an interview with Premiership manager. And honestly, like for that entire week, my anxiety levels were through the roof, like with nerves that I was going to be A, on telly, and B, interviewing. What am I going to ask him? And I'm sitting watching this game. So I drove to Blackburn, sitting watching this game, and like all the way through the game, I'm like, write that on my hand. I'll ask him that. And I was like, oh, the game's changed. I can't ask him that now. And I got there, and I was just like this. And you can see on the couch, there's clips on YouTube of me doing this interview, and the mic's just doing this, and I'm like, I couldn't get my words out. But I bloody loved it. I loved it. It was the best thing ever. I absolutely loved it. It was just like, and now forever I'll have that YouTube clip. Forever, you know, I'll have that I did a post-match interview for Setanta Sport with a Premiership football manager after a game of football, and whether it was good or whether it was shite doesn't make a blind bit of difference to us. I'm really, really proud of it. You know, like I did that. Similar story, Neil Warnock, who probably people are more familiar with. I had to do, so he used to play for Scunthorpe United, which is my football team, and I used to write for the programme, and I was doing interviews with former players. So I was like, oh my God, I get to interview former players who've played for my club. So like, this is real sort of starstruck feeling, you know. And Neil Warnock was a massive, he still is, but he's a massive name in the game. And I got his mobile number, and I had to ring him and do this interview. And again, you can hear all the way through it. It's just like so cringeworthy because I'm just like, he must have just thought, who is this freak? like trying to do it. But anyway, you know, those moments, so get out your comfort zone and don't just get out of it, but stay out of it. Keep pushing out of it. Get as far away from it as you can, because as you quite rightly say, it's just a made up thing. Just do it. Just have a go at it and take the opportunities that people present you.
So we've got be busy, be persistent, be diligent, keep working at the stuff, whatever the stuff is.
Yeah.
We got listen, be in the room, really engage, really connect, not just about what we hear, but about what we see, and kind of build the whole picture. And then we got keep pushing at the edges, keep playing at the edges.
Move it, get it out of the way. Just do it. Do it. I'm going to be on stage one day.
Hopefully not upstaging me.
With you, just so I can be better than you.
Okay, nice.
Should we do a deal? Should we do a deal on camera?
We can do a deal.
One day we'll do something on stage together.
Okay, you heard it here first. We're on. It's a good deal. I think we need to do one last show of the shoes, because they might want to see the shoes.
There we go.
These are £1 million shoes.
Yeah, they're just £1 million. The laces are free though.
That's per shoe.
Oh yeah.
It's not a pair.
Obviously, yeah.
It's not cheap or anything. Right, sir, you were a true gent. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love your shoes, and that was when I first talked to Kelly about you. I was like, the shoes are great. But actually, it's about the way you do engagement and care, and all the stuff you talked about, the kind of the being busy, the being persistent, the listening, the looking, the keep pushing at the edges. Yeah. And
I think ultimately, if I can just close on one thing, like, you can't fake it. If you're going to be honest, just be honest. You can't fake it. So don't wake up one day and think, okay, if anybody's watching this now, think, okay, Simon says I need to be vulnerable. I'm going to go out and write a sob story. Doses, you know, just be careful. Like, you know, be honest. That's the key. So just don't go looking for it. Don't go searching for some master of words or some perfect amount of vulnerability or story. Even just tell your story. We're all interesting people. We've all got stuff going on, and
live your truth.
Live your truth.
You so live your truth.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure.
A real pleasure.